Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick dropping in on you. I hope that everybody has gotten their day off to a great start. I hope that everyone is moving in their week towards the things that they yearn for, towards the things they desire. I want you to win. But I need to be honest with you about some things. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. Who told you that you couldn't have it, whatever it is? You couldn't have the nice home in the suburbs. You couldn't have the great career. You couldn't start your own business. You couldn't become a millionaire. You couldn't master uh, the idea of your dreams. You couldn't touch that dream that to them seemed unreal. Who told you that? And how far have you carried what they've told you? How far have you labored to pull their limitations through your life? I want to talk to you about putting down those limiting beliefs, crushing those limiting beliefs, stepping outside of the boundaries of what people consistently say is possible, not only for you, but for anyone else. Stop carrying someone else's limited faith and expecting to do or receive or experience anything beyond what you expect in life. It's real simple. God meets you at the level of your expectations. Life meets you at the level of your expectations. The universe engages you at the level of your expectations. You're never going to consistently experience life above what you expect from it. And if you're not getting what you want, you need to change your expectations. But you're going to have to stop holding on to what someone else gave you in their own limiting idea of how life moves, operates, and you're going to have to step into it. Before I move on, I want to point you real quickly to the description box where you'll find some great things. I am as I speak, preparing within days to release my 28th book, which is Healed and Whole. Healed and Whole is about holistic healing. It's about the ability for us to heal ourselves physically, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually, about being able to become what we were literally designed to become in the way of health, so that we can perform and execute our purpose in this world and experience our dreams in this world, and literally understand how we can create non-stressful environments through the way that we think. And I want you to experience this. So I'm doing a live event, which is going to cover the essence of what's in the book. You can also pre-order the book and be one of the first people to get it. That's in there. Also, if you do not have multiple streams of income, starting an online endeavor is one of the least expensive and most productive and effective ways to do so. I've done it in many ways over the last 14 years, and I'm sharing my blueprint in the 7-day online business launch. Also, what you're going to learn when I talk to you about your limiting beliefs today, you can literally go through a step-by-step process through the Mind Unleashed course, which the link is also in there. Now let's talk. Who told you you couldn't have it? Some 30 years ago, when I decided to explore how we truly behave, how we truly engage life, what sets the parameters of our beliefs. Because while you can see different socioeconomic um, enclaves or groups achieve certain things, you can see people come out of other groups that are supposedly anchored in a certain reality, and they excel. What is the nexus? What is the unicorn, so to speak? What is this thing inside of the people who come out of the box? The box of mediocrity, the box of average, the box of simply existing, the box of being satisfied with just being a little bit better than everybody else in the box. What is the difference? The difference is what people believe is possible. When people believe things are possible, they do extraordinary things. See, Aubrey and Wilbur believed that you can literally create a mechanism that would make men fly like birds, and people thought they were crazy. Um, Roger Bannister believed that you could run the mile in under 4 minutes, and no one had ever done it. And people believed that even if you did do it, your heart would explode and you would die. But Roger did it, and he said in his own words after at the interview, when they asked him how did he accomplish that, he said, "I simply ran it 1,000 times in my mind." The mind cannot distinguish between what's being imagined and what's real. When you consistently visit something in your mind, you tell your mind that I'm doing it. When you can imagine something, it's God's evidence that it's possible, and you have to walk into it. The crazy thing about the 4-minute mile barrier is once Roger Bannister broke it within the next 2 years, I want to say something like 250 people did it. It was impossible before he did it, but once people realized it was impossible, the barrier broke down. Then now you're at a point where kids in high school run the mile in under 4 minutes. It's not even a discussion anymore, but it used to be impossible. People thought it was impossible to sit up and create a situation where people could plug in and tap a lever, and somebody would pick up a line and plug them into somebody they can talk to in a different city. They definitely thought it was crazy that you could sit up and do it without the line. And then now we're talking about what you're actually seeing here: video conferencing, virtual videos, and all this was once thought to be impossible. So what happens? Somebody explores beyond the parameters of what is believed to be impossible. My question is, who told you you couldn't have it? Now, what I did when I started this is I developed a concept called visionetics. Visionetics is basically encompassing a number of different disciplines, from embodied cognition, transformational vocabulary, quantum psychology, um, and a bunch of other things over time. And what it embodies is the ability to visualize something. Visualize something you've never experienced. See, one of the biggest problems that I see people have is they're consulting their past for permission to write a new narrative for their future. And your past can only give you what it's been, what it's seen. And if you're consulting your past for permission to do something different, that's why you're not doing it, because you can't find the answer in the past. You've got to consult the imagination. The imagination isn't a playful place where you experience and you move around in the fodder of fantasy. Imagination is where the answers to every issue, every problem exists. There's no problem that does not have a solution. It exists in the ethos, but you've got to get outside of the concept of the construct that if I don't know it and somebody that I don't know doesn't know it, that it doesn't exist. Because you don't know it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Because you've never done it doesn't mean it's impossible. What it means is you might be the first person to ever do it. And that is where people write their legacy, in doing things that people thought that were impossible, or even things that people thought they couldn't do. I remember being told as a young kid, and I say kid, I mean young adult, that because I had tattoos, because I wore earrings, because I didn't like putting on suits, that the business world and the professional world wouldn't receive me. But I'm thankful that I had a business mentor who did wear suits and who did move in what was considered quote unquote professional, who saw something in me and told me of a hack. He said, the world won't want to receive you. You're a black man with tattoos, a black man with earrings, a black man that loves to wear t-shirts and caps. And when the hoodie game came, I came strong with it too. But he said, let me tell you something. They don't want to receive you, but I tell you, there's a hack that for centuries nobody's been able to overcome. And I said, what is that? He said, he who has the gold makes the rules. And I said, well, what does that mean? He says, when you have what they need and you can do it better than anybody else can do it, they won't care anymore what you're wearing. And I'm telling you, yes, I've put on suits, but I've walked in the boardrooms with my t-shirts and my sneakers on, and people respected me because I came in the room prepared, but I came in the room believing. And I came in the room believing in who I was enough that I wasn't going to let somebody mold me into something I wasn't comfortable being just so I could be accepted. Now, I'm not telling anybody to take my path, because it's not an easy path. There are some times you're going to get doors slammed on you, and you got to be real sure of who you are. But what I can say is I evolved, I grew, I became everything that I've wanted to become, and I'm becoming everything I will be. And nobody can stop me. Nobody can put me in a box. The beautiful thing about being outside of the box is you see things different. You begin to see things in ways God meant for you to see them, not inside of a box, a construct, this tightly wound thing that defines who you are, what you're capable of, what you can have and what you cannot. The truth of the matter is, if you can conceive it with your mind, you can have it. That's God's evidence that it's possible. See, if you believe in God, then you believe in God being benevolent. Then a benevolent God will never give you the capacity to envision something in your mind that you could never have it in reality. That's torture. So if I can conceive it in my mind, that's God's evidence that it's possible. If it's good, it will not be withheld from me. That's a promise. So then why don't I have it? I don't have it because I haven't yet truly received the idea or the notion or the belief that it's possible. I'm still functioning in my reason and in my rationale. See, reason and rationale and faith are not synonymous. That's one of the problems that people have. People are trying and being a critical thinker. I was just having this discussion with a young gentleman via text. Being a critical thinker, being a person who makes a living in research, there are these rigid ideas and these things that you have to have aligned, and it has to be proven. And in order to move like that, there are certain things you got to be able to even come out of that construct. Because there's some things that go beyond what science can explain. Now, eventually, science catches up. Oh, there's so many theories now that exist that about things that once considered impossible that now we know exist. But you've got to be able to get outside of that box. You've got to be able to think. You've got to be able to sit up and see beyond that. If I can conceive it in my mind, it's possible. Now, here's the beautiful thing about this. Is that at the moment that you conceive it, it doesn't mean you have all the answers. The beauty is the pursuit of the answer, the ability to step out into a space. See, again, I want to say this, that reason and rationale and intellect and faith are not synonymous. See, reason and rationale says when I can put two and two together, I know I'm going to get four. Reason and rationale says if I go at this speed, at this amount of time, this is when I'll arrive. I don't need faith for that. I just need to be able to calculate what I can reason and I can rationalize. But when you talk about faith, is the thing that you cannot see. It does not make sense, but you know it's possible. Now, notice I didn't just say believe. I said, you know, it's possible. You don't know how. And that's the thing. I remember hearing Les Brown once say that when you are attempting to do something for the first time and you've never done it before, how you're going to do it is none of your business. What did he mean by that? One of the things that we attempt to do when we're talking about elevating our lives, when we're talking about doing something extraordinary, something spectacular, something phenomenal, we start to search for how we're going to do it. The thing is, if I've never done it before, there's a pretty good chance that I don't know how to do it. I'm not looking, when I make up in my mind if I'm going to do something, I'm not looking for whether I know how. I'm looking for whether or not it means enough to me to be committed. Because if I'm committed, I'm not quitting. If I'm committed, I'm not giving up. If I'm committed, I'm not retreating. I'm not surrendering. I'm not turning back. I'm going the distance. I'm going to finish what I start. And that's how you get there, by finishing. You're going to learn a little bit today. You're going to learn a little bit tomorrow. But here's a beautiful thing that I learned. I learned that it isn't until you take the first step into the darkness of uncertainty that God unleashes provision. What does that mean? You can call it God, you can call it, I'm not here to tell you what to call it, but what I am here to tell you is that it's not until you start to execute faith that things that are held in check are unleashed on your behalf. The universe, the life, the energy around you, none of this stuff is working on your behalf to produce anything until you step out beyond what you can calculate. That's when things start to happen. That's when the doors of provision. I can't tell you how many times I've had a plan on doing something and I'm sitting up and I'm waiting for the right timing. And let me save you some time. Right timing doesn't exist. Perfect timing doesn't exist. The perfect opportunity doesn't exist. What exists is an opportunity to step out into the unknown and touch something that other people think is impossible. What I can tell you is I've stood up literally when I was doing my satellite office in Starbucks years and years ago. I can remember sitting up and saying, hey man, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And just sitting up trying to figure all the pieces out, and I didn't start. And one day I said, man, I'm just going to sit up and I'm going to go online and I'm going to do this. And I'm going to put this first thing together and then I'll figure out the rest. And I started to do that. Within that same hour, a person walks up to me. Now I'm sitting in the same spot in this Starbucks every day. So I see all the regulars come in and they see you and they speak and they go, hey, how you doing? And they sort of look, because I've got all kind of books. If you know me, I am a book rat. I am a reader. I've just got a bunch of stuff around me. And so people are noticing, but nobody's really saying anything. Hey, how you doing? And keep moving. And it's a friendly environment. Within an hour of me committing to do something that I didn't have any idea how I was going to do, First person stops by within an hour, says, hey, man, I always see you sitting here and you got all this stuff going. What do you do? And so I start to tell him what I did and what I was going on and what I'm about to start doing. He said, man, you won't believe this, but, and he connects me to somebody else. The next person that walks up same day sits up and approaches me pretty much in the same way and sits up and says, hey, look, I've been looking for somebody to work with on that. The rest is history. It starts with stepping out. It's not until you make that first move that the provision that God has for anything that you desire to do opens up. You're waiting on the answer. The answer is waiting on you. You're going to have to step out there and do that. But again, I got to ask you the question, who told you you couldn't have it? And the reason I'm asking that question is when I started creating Visionetics, one of the things I learned from Dr. Matthew Martz, which is the founder of the concept or the creator of the concept of psycho-cybernetics, the understanding that basically our self-image acts as a cybernetic organism or a mechanism to guide us down what we believe we are. He was first a cosmetic surgeon that realized no matter how well the surgery went, certain people were ecstatic and other people still were feeling inadequate or whatever, despite everyone around them thinking they were beautiful. And what he found out is if they don't believe it in themselves, that the self-conscious, that the self image, the self-concept is that powerful. And so what you have to do is change the self-concept. Then I started to realize who develops the self-concept in young children. They're label givers. Their label givers are those who have authority in their life enough that when they say something, they take it to heart. They take it seriously. Parents are the primary label givers. Teachers are primary label givers. And in very religious family, the clergy are primary label givers. What are your label givers saying to you? Now, sometimes they're saying it directly. You're not that smart. Are you dumb? Are you stupid? And you got to be very careful how you talk to your children. You got to be very careful how you speak into the lives of others, because you may have enough authority that you become a label giver. So you've got to be very careful. What are you speaking into the lives? Because if they receive it, they will execute it. Why? Because executing what your self-image says about you is how you maintain your sanity. You cannot believe that you are inferior and act superior, because the conflict of what you're behaving and the conflict of what you believe in will literally create a mental discourse or a cognitive dissonance at a level that will literally cause a split. You have to execute who you think you are. So when I start working with people, one of the things that I'm looking for, if they're not achieving, is where are they in their self-concept, their self-image? Because if I can erect a self-image that believes in itself, a self-image that thinks all things are possible, a self-image that sees themselves in this world as someone powerful, someone effective, someone forceful, then what I'm going to also affect in that is their self-image, their self-concept, their self-awareness, their self-esteem, and their self-confidence. All of these things are going to start aligning, and they're going to start executing based off of what they believe they are, who they believe they are, what they are capable of accomplishing. But it starts with that. And so what I found is a lot of people are carrying the limiting beliefs passed on to them by their primary label givers. They gave it to them. Some of them told you point blank straight out, you're not going to be good enough to do this. You can't go in there and do this. You can't be in business in a t-shirt and a cap. You can't go out there looking like that. You already got the, you're already behind the 8 ball. What makes you think you can do this? You don't. Nobody from this family ever wrote a book. Nobody from this family ever started a business. Nobody. But what are you going to do? You're going to hold on to it, because what you're going to do if you hold on to it. What I love about my life is, first and foremost, I never heard that in my house. My parents knew something was different about me before I did. And they started to nurture it at a very early age. So I ended up in programs that the average kid didn't. And the teacher was looking for something in me when I got there. And so all through school, I just kept hearing I was different. I was hearing I was special. And it wasn't until I got older and started studying and I realized every last kid is different. Every last kid is special. Every last kid has something in them. I've worked with kids with autism. I'm working with them now. Kids with autism. I've worked with kids with Down syndrome. I work with kids with oppositional defiant disorder. I work with kids with ADHD. And what I'm telling you, every last kid has a gift. Every last kid has something special inside of them. Every last kid has something that if you focus on it, if you nurture it, they'll rise up. I have a client right now that was diagnosed with Asperger's, which is an old version of high-end spectrum, autism spectrum disorder. And that person now is running an international location, living in the DR. You know how many times people told him he couldn't do something, but he stood up and he thought he could, and he had the wherewithal. He found me. His parents didn't bring him to me. He found me. He came to me, and now when he sits up and he reaches out, he doesn't reach out as much as he used to, but when he does reach out and he shares with me, I'm just blown away at the things he's doing, at the way he's able to use his gifting, but surround himself with people with expertise that people would think were far more intelligent than him. He's got PhDs working for him. And it's amazing, the simple idea that I can. But see, some parents didn't tell you you couldn't. You developed what is known as vicarious learned helplessness. That means that you never tried it because the people you watched tried it, failed. You learned your helplessness through them failing and ultimately giving up and not trying, or watching them avoid anything that seemed risky. And so you developed a high risk aversion. So you stay away from things. So you've never pursued it. So you just learn that, hey, that stuff over there isn't for me. That's for them. I'm not supposed to have it. They didn't tell you, audibly or overtly. They told you through their actions, through their fears, through their behaviors, through their shrinking back. And you can't blame them for it. They were working with what they had. But what you understand is there's something inside of you that's calling you to stand up and do something greater than you've ever done before. The question is, are you going to stay in the box? Some of you are in a real dangerous place because you've done better than anybody else in the past, in your family, in your circle. You're doing better than the average person. Your income is higher. Where you live is a higher median cost per home, and all these different things. And the truth is, you haven't even scratched the surface of what you were designed to do in this world. Who told you you couldn't have it? I'm here to tell you that you can. I am not here to tell you it's easy. I'm not here to tell you that life is going to roll over for you. I'm not here to tell you that all of a sudden everything you think is possible is just going to simply happen. What I'm telling you is that if you commit yourself, that if you walk in a way that truly believes, if you start to envision it in your mind, if you start to visit it with a vivid imagination, your mind starts to see it happening. Your mind can't distinguish between what you're imagining and what is really happening. Your mind believes you've done it already. Now your mind starts to align with things that align with it. This thing called faith, we can break it down into numerous sciences of quantum physics and metaphysics and so many other things. But at the end of the day, God designed this world to respond to what you believed was possible at a level that it caused you to move. Remember what James said. James says that faith without works is what? Dead. So what good is it that you see a brother in need and you tell them, pray for you, go and be filled? No, do the work. He says, you say you have faith without works, I'll show you my faith by my works. And when you start showing the world your faith by your movement, the world starts to respond. Life starts to respond. The universe starts to respond. God grants. It's designed to work that way. It cannot resist you. And I was sharing with a young brother earlier today. Here's the thing. Here's the kicker. And I'm going to leave you with this one. Everybody out there is doing it. You call it faith, you call it manifestation, you call it what you want to do, but you're doing it. The problem is most people are doing it negatively and don't even realize it. Whatever you believe is possible, you're acting on it. And whatever you're acting on is producing your reality, your thought process. It says, lean not into your own understanding in all your ways, acknowledge him. And then it says that though we walk in the flesh, we do not war according to the flesh, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. They are mighty in God for what? Pulling down strongholds. Those are the obstacles. Then it says casting down arguments and every high thing that exalts itself. We're talking about mindsets. Then it says bringing what? Every thought into captivity to the above. It's telling you how you wage this war to elevate. The science has always been there. whether it was understood or not. There's a science that says that I literally have the power to create what I think. And matter of fact, my thoughts are the seeds of my destiny. I wrote about that in my book, I Am, which is my 21st book. My thoughts are the seeds of my destiny. The moment I learned that, I start to be careful on what I'm planning. What thoughts am I entertaining? What thoughts am I allowing to roll through my mind? People literally laugh at me when they realize I don't turn the radio on in my truck. I don't listen to the radio. Why? Because I don't control the program. That's how much is important to me. I'll go find songs, or somebody will do songs, or I'll turn on something in the moment that my spirit doesn't receive the song, I turn it off. I pick up books. I choose what I engage in, because I do studies in a lot of different areas, and some of the areas that I do studies in, because of the people I work with, are dark. I govern that. How much am I taking in versus the positive that I'm pouring into myself? You'd be surprised how much control you have over what you're experiencing in this world. You are now living out the seeds you planted months ago, years ago. It's time to start planting what you want to harvest. On that note, look, I'm gonna get ready to get out of here. Don't forget to look in the description box for the ways that you can work with me. Definitely, if you get a chance, jump on that live. It's coming in a week or two. Jump on that live that we're going to be doing, but there are other resources in there. But you've got to start making moves. On that note, look, I'm gonna get ready to get out of here. As I always say, I live my life on full so that when I leave this place, I die on E. I challenge you to do the same. On that note, I'm out. Take care.